3, 2, 1, live.
Yes. Apparently we're live. The first ever Rum Shot Diaries. We promised you it was coming, and here it is. Let us know if you're in the live with us. Send your messages, speak to us, do what you must. Shout out George DeBell, who's probably doing polite inquiries at the same time, but Rum Shot Diaries is where you actually want to be. First things first, let's not even talk about the day. Let's talk about the rum.
Let's go.
What you got, Santoki? What rum you got?
I got a few selections. I got Ray and Nephew though, man. I'm gonna go for the classic.
Well, listen, I've got my Ray and Nephew, but on the way home, I was like, I need to buy a new rum for the first ever show. What are you saying about Captain Morgan Original Spice Gold?
It's all right. It's a bit mainstream, you know, but it's got a good flavor to it.
I did think that when I bought it, I was like, you know what? But you know, we move, we do what we got to do. So first day, guys. First day, I wasn't even in for most of the day, so I was actually super excited that rain had cancelled off most of the day because it meant that I didn't miss any of the cricket. So by the time I kind of logged in to see what was going on, it was like 12 for 1 after I don't know how many overs, maybe 7 overs or whatever it might be. So I'm not going to talk first. I want to hear what your opinions are of the day, the toss, the state of play. What? How many overs have we had? Like 17 for the whole day?
Yeah, 17.5.
17.1. Yeah, 5.
So West Indies were 35 for 1 at the end of play. But as I was just telling Nikhil off air, it was a game, a lot of interruptions. So I felt like the bowlers couldn't really get into the flow of things. But to start off, it was a great start by the West Indies. Dominic Sibley, who all the talk beforehand had been about losing 12 kg in weight, still couldn't help him handle the smoke of Gabriel. Clean bowled. It was a really bad leave. Nikhil, what did you think of that delivery and also the batsman leaving it like that?
Yeah, I think, hello to everybody watching, the 3 people on so far. Thank you very much for coming on, and tell your friends, this is live. Yeah, 3. We've got 3 people on right now.
If you're there, send us a message. Sorry, Nikhil, I'm interrupting, but we need to know if you're there. You need to shout us out, drop in the comments, and let us know. You two carry on. Sorry, let me just get my ice.
Yeah, guys. So basically, you can just put your comments in the actual comment section, and we're gonna be bringing them up on the stream, like how this one is there. So yeah, just let us know if you're here. Hello to the 7 people watching, and yeah, I'm excited for this. As I was telling you guys, I think I was kind of unlucky for Dominic Sibley because I don't know if you guys saw, but the ball before that, the seam actually held its line and he just left it outside the off stump. Oh, sorry, I actually beat him outside the off stump, and this one cut back tremendously, and I think that really summed up the wicket from what I saw today. The surface, it was a bit too paced. So, hello, we have somebody watching. Is commenting in the comments, guys. But yeah, the surface was a bit inconsistent at times, a bit too paced. You saw Carey going to the neck of Shane Dowrich, and then some, bouncing in front of him. So that was pretty interesting after so long, no cricket being on there. And I just wondered if maybe the fact that they had that 3-day practice match, England, of course, at the Rose Bowl last week, if that had any impact. But yeah, that was a really unlucky leave, and I was happy when West Indies took the early wicket. What about you guys?
Well, I knew. Sorry, Santoki. I knew the wicket had gone, Nikhil, because in my training course that I was on, my phone went buzz. I looked down and slyly looked down, and I saw that you'd put in the message, boom. And in my head, I was like, let me just reply to Nikhil right now and say, slow down. There's a long, long time to go. Still. But Santoki, were you excited?
I was going to say, well done to you guys as well. Correct prediction of the starting 11. I don't think there was any surprises really in Cornwall getting left out. As much as people wanted to see Cornwall, I think West Indies have gone with the best team, all-out pace attack. And we already saw the patterns kind of emerging with Roach and Holdar providing the control, really good economy rates, and then Gabriel and Joseph just coming out looking for the wickets with the pace. So I think it's going to be an exciting battle. The thing I think West Indies need to do is get Joe Denley out, because he's someone who can dig in and kind of provide the platform for a big score. So if we can get him out, the rest of the England batting lineup, Zach Crawley, quite inexperienced. So it'll be down to Denley, Stokes, I think, and Butler to kind of put in the big sort of runs if England are looking for a total above 300.
I mean, one thing that I was impressed with so I must have saw like 10 overs on and off. or off and on, I should say, once I got in. And one thing that I was impressed with, I saw a few people saying online that they thought the West Indies had bowled, and I'll be intrigued to see what you think, Nikhil. They'd said that they thought the West Indies were just short of a good length, which I think there's some merits in that. But I actually felt that overall, over the piece, they'd kept it relatively tight. I've seen enough bowling performances from them. I know bowling's our strong suit, but I've seen enough bowling performances from them where they've let the pressure go too early and too quickly. And I think, yes, the English batsmen, Burns and Denley, were probably being quite circumspect and not making sure they weren't going to give it away, but we weren't letting them get away at the same time. So, I mean, it'll be rain interrupted again tomorrow, but what I always say as a bowling unit, if you can't get a wicket, make sure you're keeping it as tight as possible. And I can't really criticise them. Could there have been a bit more wicket-taking deliveries? Quite possibly. Could they bowled a bit fuller? Quite possibly. Jason beat the bat a couple of times. I saw some inklings of swing from Jason. So I think we can't get a full... I don't think we can get of course we can't, 17 overs. We can't get a full kind of overview of what the bowling's actually looking like until we get a full session of play.
Yeah, I think full credit goes out to Shane Dowrich as well, because it was obviously overcast and the ball was kind of wildly swinging about at some points, and you could see him struggling to kind of see where it was going. But in the 17 overs, he did well, and I think tomorrow he's going to have a bigger task ahead of him. Hopefully, if we can get some more overs in. I mean, it's weather forecast is for rain at the moment for tomorrow, but Friday onwards we should be good for 90 days and over play at least.
There we go.
Firstly, let me say hi to Leah here joining us on the stream, guys. And I think, I would say Kemar Roach was very good with the ball. I think the others, Shannon Gabriel, Azari Joseph, were a bit inconsistent. First delivery, Azari Joseph ball, there was a half tracker to Burns, and he just, flicked it away. And that's something that I think the West Indies need to focus on tomorrow whenever they get to play, keeping the pressure on, because I thought they did very well to keep England to no boundaries in the first 35 deliveries. It took significant amount of time to actually get that first boundary, and that just sums up to me how challenging already the conditions were today. But yeah, I think, Kemar Roach definitely did extremely well, and good management by the bowlers from Jason Holder to, not... Obviously, we know Shannon Gabriel and the fitness constraints that he's dealing with. So it's good that I saw Jason Holder rotate the guys well, and he as himself was getting a lot of bounce off the surface. So I'm excited. I was looking for maybe one or two more wickets early in that period. But as Santoki said, going off and coming back on is very hard to start back over. Harder for the batting team, but also hard for the fielding team as well. And it's probably, when the West Indies were picking up momentum, it was pretty hard. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with what I see. I would hope that the West Indies can get 2 early wickets early, because I know Joe Denley's been in some good form playing in South Africa. I want to get these guys out early and break into some of the, Zach Crawleys and the guys that are less experienced.
Shout out Rochelle Hewitt as well. He says, hello, Uncle Mash. We can see you. Mash, you got your supporters here as well?
I had to get my family up on here to up the numbers. Don't get it twisted. That's Kay, what's your first name, Kay? We see you though. Would you consider the Burns decision in the first over? Oh, I missed it. Did you two see it? Did you see it, Nikhil? The LBW.
Actually, I figured. I'm assuming he's speaking about the one where Kemar Roach. So basically, what happened was, Kemar Roach bowled the ball angling into Burns, and he actually left it. And it actually struck him on the pad. I'm assuming this is the decision he's talking about. And, the West Indies went up for a referral first over, and Jason Holder was very nervous. And it actually was a lot closer than I expected. Everybody thought he would sail over the stumps, hit him high on the knee roll. But it actually was umpire's call. So all in all, the West Indies didn't do too bad and actually, retained the review. So thank you very much for that question. And the next question from Chatil, we have, should the slips come in for Holder and Roach with a lack of pace?
Have we seen any take the edge yet, though?
Yes, actually, one took the edge from Denley, and it actually bounced short of John Campbell. He did well to stop it.
What do you reckon?
Nikhil, do you think if West Indies won the toss, they would have come into bat first or field?
You see, that's a really tricky thing. And honestly, when I first woke up and saw we're gonna get back to. We're not gonna go away from this question, Chatil. Don't worry. But when I first saw the decision by Ben Stokes taking the bat first, and Masha, you would actually told me that you think that they're going for the scorer pressure. It's an interesting one because I think in these conditions, it may be the better choice maybe to bowl first. And you actually heard Jason Holder say he doesn't mind bowling first at all. So I think it's a big possibility that the West Indies could have bowled first, having won the toss, simply because of the conditions and obviously going with that 4-prong pace attack. I think bowling is our strong suit, so it doesn't really surprise me that Jason Holder would want to bowl first. However, batting on last is always tricky on that surface, which already is slow.
Yeah, and I think, and ultimately, that's what I think. Irrespective of the conditions, I think Stokes, the England camp, have basically banked on, well, you lot have to bat last, and we know you can't bat. I ultimately believe that's what it boils down to, and I am worried. Well, no, I'll get to that point in a minute, but I am worried that should it come down to a last day chase, survival, whatever it might be, that's where England having a spinner is more helpful than us having Roston Chase.
That links. We've got a question on Twitter for you guys, and myself as well. I'm asking, when do you think Rakeem Cornwall will come into the series?
Next test, definitely, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Old Trafford takes spin for sure. I agree.
The question mark is, and I guess what Phil Simmons and Jason Holder will have to work out is this, in many ways, this first test is an audition for the top 6. And Alzari Joseph. So basically, John Campbell, Shamar Brooks, and Alzari Joseph out of the team are probably having an audition here, because if Alzari takes wickets, he plays no matter what at Old Trafford. Okay, if he doesn't, Rakeem comes in as a straight replacement, and they just go to 3 teamers and Rakeem. If Alzari plays well, and one of the batsmen, Blackwood or Blackwood or Brooks doesn't play well, then I think we'll see Dowrich and Holder go up to allow Cornwall to get into the side. So actually, there's a few subplots in the course of this test which will be quite significant, because they will have to force Cornwall into the side at Old Trafford.
At some point, So, go on, Nick.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so tomorrow, assuming we get a full day's play, what would you kind of hope for West Indies to kind of bowl England out for? What would be like a good total in your eyes?
Well, before I just get to that question, let me just comment on what he said quickly, Marshall. In terms of, I agree, but I also think it's another outlook too. If the top order does well, guys like Shea Hope, Craig Brathwaite get 50s, I think that it's possible that we could even see someone like a Blackwood, if he doesn't get a big score, even and if they have confidence in that top order. So, and I didn't get to answer this question here from Chatil quickly. I think yes, the slips could come in because there's always a possibility. And what I saw from Jason Holder was he's getting considerable bounce and carry. So for him especially, I may have the slips. But as the test continues, you may see the surfaces get slower and that may come out. In terms of the what I would want to see the West Indies bowl England out for, I think under 200 would be very, I would take that, but I don't even know.
What did you say?
Nikhil's been on the run.
Wait, what run you on? Wait a minute, because I'm Captain Morgan and I ain't talking reckless like that.
So why can't the West Indies bowl them up? Why can't they bowl them up for under 200?
Listen, I'd accept under 300, right?
I'm telling you, the collapse is on the way. We've seen it with England. And let me just give you guys something, right? England have a poor record when the ball angles into them. And we saw it in South Africa. And the key with Roach and Gabriel is they run very wide of the crease and angle the ball into the batsman. So I think England could be collapsing for about 150 come the next 2 days.
The thing is with England, I think there will be a collapse in terms of you'll see 2-3 wickets go in a short period, but they can bat so deep. That's the problem. Is getting out the tail end as well, because their tail end can put up a big total as well. So I'm with Mash. I think anything under 300 is a success for us. But if they got under 200, Nikhil, I would love it. That would be amazing.
Before we get to the next question, I really love the fact that loads of you are interacting. That's almost the whole point of this thing, is to get you to feel like you can ask questions. This is about as much as you, the audience, than us just waffling on. But before we get to that question from our good friend, let me bring in some pessimism. So wait, was I the only one who was super glad it rained for most of the day? We know that we can't last 5 days in this match.
I wasn't glad.
I was super happy when I saw the rain forecast. I was like, right, that's one day already out of the equation. If it rains tomorrow, that's another day out of the equation.
Well, wasn't it?
We can survive 3 days. We can't survive 5.
I think Brian Lara came out and said he doesn't think this team can survive 5 days. So I think the rain's going up against Brian Lara at the moment because it looks like we will go into day 5. But no, I wasn't happy to see the rain, partly because just seeing cricket back as a contest would be good. And I think the first test is the best chance of West Indies getting a result if they are to get one in this series. So I'm hoping that there isn't any rain tomorrow so we can see some play take place, because I do think, as Nikhil said, an England collapse is pending. It's just whether West Indies can make that collapse last the whole innings, basically.
I completely disagree with both of y'all. I think the West Indies, if they bowl today a full 90 overs, we would be batting already, and Craig Brathwaite and John Campbell would be 50 each. So yeah, I think I've been very impressed with what I've seen. The West Indies come fierce, and I don't think England are ready. And also Stuart Broad not being there in these conditions, I think that could go to fair. But I don't want to go too much off topic. I know we'll get to that at some point. So let's answer this question.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Is Kartikeya Manchala static 357 on Twitter?
Yeah, we only know him as
we know him as static.
Incorrectly as well, but it is static. But on YouTube, we don't call you static anymore. We call you by your government name. So, anyways, the question says, looks like some variable bounce already. Might be a rough last 2 days for batting the kill.
Yeah, I definitely think so. As I said, I touched this one before. The variable bounce. We've seen some balls bounce to Shane Dowrich. We've seen some rise to his head height. He's had to dive all over the place. I think it's a very inconsistent surface, too paced, and that could, have a lot to play with. And that's why maybe, Masha, I could see, England maybe assessing the pitch this morning, looking at conditions, maybe then deciding that's why they want to bat first, because I think it could be terror to bat on that surface. And let's not forget, Moeen Ali's taken the most wickets on that surface. You think he averages 15 a game on that surface. So I definitely think it's going to take spin. And obviously, as you pointed out before, Masha, having a guy like Don Best, where we only have Roston Chase, could work in their favor. So I definitely do think it's going to be a rough last day, especially for batting.
I just want to, unless we get any more questions, and we'll try and bring this to. Oh, I knew
we have others. Oh,
we got all right. I didn't realize it'd be so popular. Nikhil, what have you done to us? Leah, by the way, anything's cool with us. When we do it live, I think probably YouTube
is better, so that we can pull it up. Yeah.
But so when we announce it on Twitter that we're doing it, you don't have to send in questions that way. Just jump on the live. And we'll answer them. But before we get to some other ones, then I just want to go in on something very briefly. So, have you saved that question that just came up, Nikhil?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go back to that.
Okay, cool. So Santoki, again, I was obviously not around for the start of the day's play, and for those of you who are in the UK or who are watching the Sky feed, I don't know what feed you were watching, Nikhil. Is it ESPN Caribbean or something?
Yeah, ESPN Caribbean, but they take the Sky feed.
Okay, so you two might have seen. I know Santoki definitely did, but Michael Holding obviously gave a speech this morning. I've caught up with it subsequently after I got home, and I don't want to go in on it. Like maybe that's something I say for like a podcast episode or something. But there was a lot of people like retweeting it straight afterwards and going, "Yeah, Mikey Holding's right," and Ebony Rainford as well. Let's not forget her as well. They're right. So many people need to listen to this. This is so powerful, etc. Now, granted, I didn't listen to it live. I've only caught up with it later on. And Santoki, I'm going to go to you first because there is a significant part of me, Santoki, which feels like I don't know how to play it, Santoki, because there's a part of me which is like, can you not stop saying he's right and actually start doing something?
Yeah.
And then there's the other part of me which is like, yeah, but this is still a powerful speech as well. So yeah, we got to amplify it, etc., etc. And I just, and as Caribbean people, maybe we come at it from a different angle. I don't know. Where do you stand in it all, Santoki?
For me, obviously, the first step in change is awareness. So obviously, making people aware of what kind of going on in the world. But then there is part of it where it's kind of like you're preaching to the converted, especially on Twitter, because if you're retweeting it, most of your followers are gonna kind of be on the same wavelength. So there's that aspect. I did think Michael Holding's though speech was really good because it was slightly different because he focused on the historical aspect. So more of like he went back to like Christianity and how Jesus is portrayed and how that kind of shows white privilege and this kind of white image as being perfect, as opposed to, as he said, the demonization of black people throughout history. So he kind of gave like a really succinct overview of kind of racial prejudice and white privilege over the course of history within like 5 minutes, which was really amazing because not a lot of academics can even do that. And he said it in a way which was easy for a lot of people to understand. So I think that was a good thing to kind of showcase and make people aware of racism. It's not something that's just happened recently with police murders. It's gone on since the beginning of time, or not the beginning of time, but for centuries and centuries. So I think making people aware of that statement is a good thing. But as you said, it's just the start. It's step one. How are people going to build on it? Because retweeting it is just one part of it. How are you going to actively change it and make progress happen? And I think, Michelle, you've asked a good point. And so, yeah.
So Nikhil's brought this question up, obviously, as a result. Will you join me in a Russian civil? Sorry, from Leah. Will you join me in a Russian Civil War style assault on the Buckingham Palace if Mikey and Ebony are not knighted for today's broadcast? Do you know what? So way back when, in the days of Caribbean Cricket Podcast, when Santoki and I didn't understand how to do anything tech-wise, we had an episode where we spoke about knighthoods. And how we said that West Indian cricketers shouldn't accept them. So, Mikey, in fairness, Leah, I would be shocked if Michael Holding ever accepted a knighthood for anything. Just as you can see from his speech today, I don't think he'll ever get offered one. But I would be shocked if he ever accepted one. But I'm all up for the Civil War, though. I can get my weapons right now if needs be.
Listen,
so just let me know when it's kicking off.
Your government name's online, Michelle. I don't know what you're preaching. It's the rum talking.
That's not my no. That's my alias, man. That's not my government name.
Nikhil, do you want to come in and answer Chatil's question?
Yeah. Just to comment on that quickly, I think. Yeah, just to comment on what Masha was speaking about quickly. Are you guys hearing me well?
Yeah. All good.
All right, cool. Yeah. I just think, yeah, as you said, Masha, it's time for action. You know, there's been talk for too long. And I think Michael Holding is, along with so many other people around the world, is finally trying to get some proactiveness on the matter. And I think it's been needed for a long time. And to tell you how much of an impact that Michael Holding speech has had, he has, that video posted by Sky Sports has 2.1 million views in probably, a couple of hours. So that's the impact of that, the long-lasting impact that video has had. And I've seen people on Twitter even say, like, cancel the day of cricket, and just hear Michael Holding talk about, Black consciousness. So, yeah, I definitely think it was really great and touching by Michael Holding, and it's something that needs to be done by so many more people around the world. Now, to answer Chatil's question, why does Holding always bowl first when he wins the toss? Did it in the Indian series and in the prior series. I think probably it just comes down to conditions. Obviously, I don't think it has worked too well for us because us batting last, we already know how frail our batting is. To them bat on a day 5 wicket, I think is not great. But I mean, it could be just, obviously we know that bowling is our strength. So Jason Oda probably wants that. And it did work in the England series, bowling at England first, getting them for a low score. And that completely, changed the precedence of the entire series. So that could be the reason. And obviously Jason Oda bats himself in it. And probably, that's the reason why he picks the ball first all the time.
Cool. Shall we wrap it up there then? I know there hasn't been much to talk about. Oh, we've got one more question.
There's
questions.
This is the last one here, but guys, if you have any more, there's 14 people watching now. So if any of you have any questions, you can just put it in the comments. And
and if you weren't here at the beginning, just to remind you that I'm on the Captain Morgan. Santoki, you're right. It's a mainstream rum. I'm not really
feeling, bro. It's bait out here.
It's a poor choice.
And the worst thing is,
listen,
listen, the worst thing is, that very nephew finished you off yesterday. I was going to call the ambulance for you after that shot. So my guy came back today with a mixer, diluted the taste.
Believe I bought the cold first.
All right, so the last one's more of a comment and analysis, I guess, from David Windham. He feels West Indies needed a second wicket before the end of the day. think it's still pretty even though he's disappointed the West Indies didn't kick on from the early wicket. As we said earlier, I guess the interruptions to the bowling meant they couldn't kind of get a flow, and it was hard to pick up wickets. But I'm hoping tomorrow in the first session they can pick up 2-3 wickets. That will really add some spice to the contest.
Yeah, just all I'll say to that is that, yeah, I think it was a pretty balanced day, but I think the West Indies are really have an opportunity here to catch England, because that first wicket set the tone. And I think if, as I said before, I think if there was no rain interruptions, England would be bowled out by now if we had a full day's play. So that's what to expect in the coming days. And yeah, the West Indies to win this first test. I'm sticking with my prediction, my bold prediction that nobody seems to agree with, but the West Indies to win the first test.
You know,
okay.
This is being recorded, so whatever happens, we're going to play this back, and certain people can't come back on this show again.
Right. So on that note, I think it's good time to wrap up our first episode of Run Diaries. It's been a pleasure, guys. As always, not a lot to talk about today in terms of action, but we still managed to go 25 minutes. So I think if there is a full day of play, like set aside 2 hours because it's going to go on for that long, I think, the analysis. But yeah, hopefully we get a full day's play. Even though rain's forecast tomorrow, hopefully it can stay away for enough time to see some decent cricket tomorrow. And so, yeah, look forward to seeing everyone who's joined us today tomorrow, and hope you all have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming on. As Santoki just said, you can check us every single day of the test series, obviously after the day's play, 10 minutes, and check us out on Twitter, Carib Cricket. We're going to be putting when we go live and keep engaging with us, and sending your reactions, analysis, and questions. And even I'm going to try to get these guys, obviously I'm bringing them in the technology era, I'm going to try to actually get some of you guys on the show as well. So keep locked. And yeah, thanks very much for all coming on.
Peace.